guys gave up a Thursday to come and listen to poetry and hear some music. So thank you, and thank you to Sarah for putting this on. Raise your hand if you've never been in this bookstore before. It's nice, right? Raise your hand if you didn't even know it existed until someone, yeah, I know, me too. No, it's a really great space. I'm really excited about this. Hopefully we can do more stuff like this in the near future. So raise your hand if you've never been to a poetry reading before. Okay, I'm going to dispel a couple myths. After a poem is read, you clap, you do not snap. All right?
Oh, good.
This is a common misconception. The snapping is actually done during a poem. So if somebody says a line that like really touches you, it's kind of like saying amen in church. It's a way to like say, oh, that's cool, without disrupting the entire process. Now, you are not required to snap. Some of you are, in fact, even discouraged from snapping.
Is that me?
Maybe. After a poem, you clap. And in fact, if you don't clap after a poem, us poets are very sensitive creatures, and we die a little inside every time. We're kind of like Tinkerbell, minus the wings.
Yeah.
So anyway, how this is going to work is I'm going to read some poems from a few of my books, which I do have for sale. Everything over there is $10. I also have bookmarks that are free, and they have like a poem on one side and then a QR code on the back where you can like, one of them you can read the whole book for free online, another one just like all of the places you can find my stuff. So please feel free to take one or more of those things and give them to people, whatever. And lastly, you are invited and encouraged to take pictures and videos of all of the poets that are up here. Make us all famous, and musicians, excuse me. Do your best. So I'm going to read a few poems first from this book called A Horse Called Victory. I'm a very odd man, and I write entire books of poems about very odd things. I'm not an expert on the Old West, but I am a history nerd, and I get really obsessive and manic sometimes. So I've written books about the Old West. My first book is a book about Dwight D. Eisenhower. I've written an entire collection about Dutch art, an entire collection about cryptocurrency, all kinds of weird things. So I'm going to start with a poem entitled Jesse James Was a Coward. Jesse James was a coward. A half-cocked trigger pulled from a Kansas City paper where rich folks long since cornered the market on low-rent heroes, sore loser complexes as deep as the Missouri, as wide as Missouri, as miserable as the gray-coated, blood-stained losers who came back to sharecrop their way through life, drink their Kentucky hang-ups, leave the local swill for the Federals. He carved Dixie on his lips and bit every time he heard someone whistle the Star-Spangled Banner. Train robbing, shooting bankers just for looking like America. A place he lived, cursed for welcoming him back home, whose ground he filled with shallow graves and thin definitions of liberty. One of those feeble-minded outlaws who never could realize they're not special. They too must give thanks for what they have, rather than burn us for what they don't. You guys figured it out.
Very nice.
So I had the great fortune of staying at a place called the Osage Arts Community out in Bell, Missouri. It's an artist residency where poets and painters get to go. And while I was there, I spent some time at Clark's Hill, which is a spot where Lewis Clark sat and they camped out for a few days and like looked out over the river, and he wrote a lot in his journal there. So this is called Clark's Hill. The things we bury are never as dead as the things we live for. A country of no grandfathers, too young to heed wide words and with no formative field from which to harvest. We stomp on the heads of kind ghosts, call it our newly fashioned home. We cross our legs and enjoy the view. All right, this poem is about Wyatt Earp. It's short, it's called Earp. Strategic grooming. Twitched lips and teeth that constrain tall names through any crack they choose. Legends have a way of defending themselves. Spin steel and polish metal as needed. Pose for the womenfolk. Remind them that all ends have merit. We're gonna do one more from this one. This one has an epigraph. It's a quote from Louis L'Amour. He says that there's nothing more dangerous than a woman with a shotgun. It's called Annie Oakley. She barked about gentle movement, finesse and wonder, rode in wild loops. Heaven's adulation, crowds tend to mimic thunder. Golden girl of the sagebrush, felt, leather, and silk. Short speeches on fame's blissful presence, how opportunity is a moving target, why it's important to keep your guns clean. So I actually wrote a proposal when I went to that residency to write that book. I was supposed to sit there for 6 weeks and do nothing but continue doing research and writing that book. And instead, I found out that in southeast Missouri, there's a ton of places to go fishing. And so I went fishing a lot. And I instead wrote this book, which is called On Slip Rigs and Spiritual Growth. And it is a collection of poems, obviously, about fishing. So we'll start with, anyone here like Ernest Hemingway?
Yeah.
Okay, well, this poem is about how I don't like Ernest Hemingway and how I think he would act like a tool if he took me fishing. I dedicated it to Max Ruark and Dustin Fox. Hemingway takes me fishing. A harpoon in one hand, rum in the other. A sea so calm he has to invent a tempest. Vague threats, worn out tall tales of cabin fever, murderers at high sea. He gets angry that I'm not nervous, as if he traveled back alone without anyone to hear his tales of sweaty heroism. I'm over old man bravado and its extended metaphors about the threat of nameless death and inability to rise with the tide. Anyone ever seen the movie Apocalypse Now? You know when the helicopters are coming in and they play the Flight of the Valkyries by Wagner? Anyone? Okay, that's okay. Wasted references are so good. This is called Piney Blues. Mosquitoes are blasting Wagner, swarming in the combat glow of the propane lantern set too close to our cots. We got up so early to check the crab traps, float into the dark before the tide heads home. Itchy isn't the right word. I want to light the grill up, lay across the grates, let the sores rise as ashes to settle in the sand. I'm tired, but if the night has been good to us, breakfast will be amazing. This one is called To Those Who Leave Beer Cans to Float Down the River. I hear y'all chant. So actually, this was about, this is dedicated to Jason Reberg, who's my publisher. And we were talking about how, patriotism and how, I love America, but if you love America, you should also, love physical America and not, throw beer cans down the river you're trying to fish out of, He takes his snaps back.
My bad.
To those who leave beer cans to float down the river. I hear y'all chanting America. Its vinyl colors stamped on your bumpers. Flimsy arguments about tradition pulled from faded blueprints, the Virginian homes of dead men. It's almost as if you've forgotten the name is attached to a place. God carved these valleys so the Osage could drink, so the earth could carry water to its children. I'm going to get real deep and tell you a traumatic personal story of mine through verse.
So excited.
Not to get too real, but it's called The Gorgeous Bass Pro Shop Employee Who Denied my credit card application and gave me 2 free hats. First, I'm sorry for noticing. Failure will do that to you. Heighten your worst senses to generate a more accurate picture, the perfect snapshot of rejection. Second, it pains me to see myself how you must see me. Barely a man with an awkward smile, a credit score that feeds with the Placo. Forgo the scripted congeniality, the promise of more explanation in the mail. Just kill me now and set me up with the stuffed fauna or set me free. Click yes, click print, and guide me to the sleeping bag suited for all temperatures. For what it's worth, I would have used this money for good. Real adventures, oiled with bear grease and charted on antique maps. While I can't stake the voyage of my own, thanks for the few minutes of your time, for your warmth, for the free hats. So one time, it was really cold and I was bored, and so I wrote an entire book of poems about Dutch art in 2 weeks. The first one is called Vermeer Watches Me Sleep. Is this the right kind of ordinary? Will this room fill the right cups? Wholesome inspiration and powdered dollops? Will it find itself stretched in long, dark fields of oil, nailed glossy in a white room? Well, people describe me as supple. This really is how I do it. With my arm just like this over my head, irreverent stakes of artificial light living as painful pinstripes across my body, my eyes. I find basketball shorts to be the most comfortable things to sleep in. So I adjust my blanket to cover any logos, as not to confuse the historian, whistling his tune of studied grace, only stopping to say things like, in his time, to be overweight was a sign of status, wealth, a wise form of beauty. Most nights, sleep escapes me. Let's skip that one. This one is called The Girl with the Pearl Earring by Johannes Vermeer.
Yay.
Fell in love with a woman once who mispronounced the names of cities she'd claimed she'd been to. Wore stones plucked from the mouths of plastic mollusks. Swore up and down that the warmth beneath her sheets held the secrets that bind our joy to the earth. I always imagined she was a good kisser. Wore scarves her aunt left her, from when chemo started popping up at holidays. In any conversation with mom, every dinner, told her stories about life and its limitlessness, its utter lack of limits. She's married now, Iowa, I think. I'm going to do one more from this one, and then I'm going to read you a few teaching poems, and then I'm going to step out of the spotlight for whatever this is.
All right.
This is called Open Letter to Winnie Mass and the Residents of the Double House. I am programmed for noise, but too often find myself silently baiting the glowing habits of 2 weeks ago. I wish I could leave this room and find a new one, a hallway that could spin me on my heels and send me back. My bed is made, all fabric is fresh now. My family is waiting outside. There's a party downstairs where no one gossips, and we all cry joyous tears at the smell of melted cheese. Mostly, I just wish that I couldn't see, hear, feel my neighbors through my window. That whoever built this crumbling rental would come and explain themselves. Tell me it was a sense of humor that invented loneliness, not some mosquito-like need to move from body to body. It's the second time mosquitoes have appeared in a poem of mine today. I'll have to think about that.
You should.
Okay, so these poems are actually from a chapbook called Ode to the Class of 2024. Hey, I should read that. Let me find these. They were published by Stripes Literary Magazine, and it's available completely for free. It's a digital download, and I have bookmarks that have the QR code where you can go and download that for free. So please take some and read these later if you would like. This first one is called For Emma. You've reached the 3rd grade, and here's your mother, who fed you to health, saying, listen, you may not like your teacher, but if you learn your times tables, for now, you will succeed. You will own the shore, shine as a beacon so bright, the other kids will mistake you for the sun. And a few years down the road, she emerges, reminds you that hard work is the key to keeping your head above water. Eventually, she will sound as a stern, salted voice, the dirge of experience, over the rough-worn waves of adulthood, guiding your best attempts at sea, begging for grandchildren. But once, all you had to do was live. You were born, and the woman who ached as life leapt from her own heartbeat held an armful of God's best promise, swaddled in fleece and showered with kisses. That was you. That was a room of adoring relatives saying, it doesn't get better than this. Just breathe. Close your eyes, rest, and know the future can hide nothing from you. You are the future. This one's called Lecture. I teach that similes are like metaphors, language is a paintbrush, and personification grows like a real boy. A student asked why the author couldn't just say what he meant, lay it all out in short grunts and curse words for whomever spurred his nightshade soul. Some questions don't want to be answered. I dig up 3 new names for disappointment, write them on the board, let the dirt grind into the carpet. I tell him that last Thanksgiving, a plate of sweet potatoes sent my eyes rolling into my ears as I invoked God and all divine tendrils of pleasure, that I can sit here all day and say, it was good, but by the 100th time, he still wouldn't taste what I tasted, see what I saw, smell what I smelled. But blindness can't be cured by a flashlight, nor deafness by a megaphone. Some questions don't want to be answered. Some don't even want to be asked. This one is called, I'll do both of these. 2 more and then I'll be done. Or 3 more because you're here.
No, keep it going.
This one's called Mandated Reporter. She sat behind my desk, the chair lolling back and forth as she poured herself clean, the truth sweeping the pipes clear of scum, secrets clumped in black masses of dead skin, old hair. I told her the hurt that follows scabs over, new life mounds in subtle swaths of pink, memorials, armor built on the things we swear we will never become. I told her she isn't the first person to throw up in my classroom, that crying is just another function of the body. Healing works better if you're hydrated, well-rested, getting enough sun, saying the worst parts out loud.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna do one more. I changed my mind. Okay, this is Ode to the Class of 2024.
Why?
Miss Griffith,
Yes.
what's an ode? Do you remember?
Don't put me on the spot.
You don't remember? Freshman year? Second week of school?
My brain started in finals week.
All right, an ode is a poem that celebrates something. So the class of 2024 was the first class that I taught. I teach freshman English. And Alice Griffith was in my 6-hour class, a very special class. And she was so interested in learning about Buddhism, I changed our entire lesson for the whole semester and had us read Siddhartha. And after 2 chapters, she said it was boring and she hated it, so we stopped. So.
Hey, congrats.
Ode to the class of 2024. They bring me cupcakes and late homework, creased from the careless, apologetic depths of their backpacks. They bring me jokes their brother told them and long-winded confessions that they too stayed up too late to do what they were supposed to. They bring me stories about friends who are no longer friends, carrying hearts that have been scarred for the very first time, will never pump as much joy as they once did. They bring me questions that are far too personal, news of birthday weekends, of new and sudden foster placements, hallway tears and white-knuckled curses under their breath. They bring me mistakes and poorly shod promises of future success. They bring me their own poems, naked of imagery but overflowing with raw and precocious gut. Words they're too young to know describe their life with dangerous precision. They bring me their dreams and I knight them. These guardians of tomorrow's smiles, I tell them, go forth. Conquer until doubt is a smoking corpse on a far distant black pebbled beach. They bring me pens and we hoist their hopes on their sleeves. They bring me to my wit's end and a frustration that grows only 1 inch taller than their volume. They bring me to supplication, leaving Thanksgiving prayers scribbled in colored ink right under their scores. They bring me to dry-jointed, uncomfortable bouts of half-sleep and unending storms of ibuprofen. They bring me whistling to work each and every morning. Just class of 2024, not the rest of you guys.
Oh, so you made it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me go get the list. Some poems for us? All right. Don't really have any guidelines, just, a few. Perfect. That sounds perfect.
So a little bit of context. Me and JC and Josh, and there's another one of us that might be coming. We're part of a group in Iola that does poetry, so we meet like once a month and we have themes and stuff. So I've got a couple from the last couple months that we wrote. So our first theme that we had was misunderstandings, and so this poem is called Misheard. The 22nd hour is shorter than the rest. I've just the time to yawn, to sneeze, and to be blessed. I look up at the clock, by then it's 23. How strange the hour zips right by. Is something wrong with me? The 22nd hour, like all the hours before, contains within it seconds, but hours should have more. 20 measly seconds does not an hour make, so ordinal military time is out. Don't make the same mistake. So it's a 20 This next one is a fabrication. So that's the name of it, is Fabrications. So there I was, drinking my lemonade, when suddenly, out of the wild blue yonder, a pink pen cap performed a perfect somersault into my cup. The ice clinked in polite appreciation while the onlookers looked on, and the band played on, and the pen landed on the table, so Josh could collect his cup. The cat has since moved on to bigger and better feats, keeping him from writing words he'll regret, choking small dogs, steering clear of inkwells. But it fondly remembers that one fine day when its swan song was a swan dive into the icy waters of diluted lemonade, and it, like cream, floated to the top and lived to tell the tale. And then this last one is called Propaganda. I've heard it said that the center of the Milky Way is a black hole, but I know it's caramel and its edges are pure chocolate. I'd like to give the world a Coke to say this bud's for you, but I'm too busy thinking Arby's and I haven't caught a clue of what's advertised is actually for sale, or just on sale, or just discounted. I'd hate to discount someone just because they wear discount clothing, just because they think different or think outside the bun. I've heard life is not a spectator sport, and when people ask how's life, I want to say I'm loving it. But I'm trying to lose the carbs without the taste, because maybe what America runs on is not the stuff that's finger-licking good, but the good stuff we gather around when we sit at the table together. A Thanksgiving meal of good food, good times, maybe a Coke or a Milky Way or two.
Very nice.
I also have some poetry that I would like to read as well. I'll start this off with a poem that I wrote. It was not too long ago I wrote it. It was a song about guitar and playing guitar. Here it is. It is called Ode to the Guitar, or Guitarist Lament. Oh guitar, you wonderful thing, you taught me patience, you taught me to sing. Oh guitar, you sit in my stand, how I long to play you, if not for my hand. This cursed nerve of my finger and thumb, I try to use them, but they cramp and go numb. I form the chords that once was clear, but now the very sound hurts my ears. Oh guitar, this isn't the end. My wounds will heal, and I will play you again. And it is better too, by the way. I can play a little bit now. Let me make sure it's in tune here. Not quite. There we go. This is a song that I wrote. It's from the perspective of a man who just doesn't take a hint. Saw you at the river just the other day. Started to walk towards you, you just turned away. Started to walk towards you, but you just turned away. Thought I'd inquire you of your name. You looked at me as though I was insane. You looked at me as though I was insane. You wanted me to go where you wanted me to leave. Did it so